Okay, so what's going on, everybody? How's everyone doing? It is great to be here with you. Great to be with you guys another week of this Culturally Correct podcast. We are excited to be with you. We have a guest today, and I am super honored that she decided to be with us today on the podcast. This is my sister. We have known each other for about four years. Worked together. I met her. We worked in the same place, the same establishment, and we just, developed an awesome relationship. It's very interesting. She is probably one of the few people I feel like that I have like high, I guess, reverence for her opinion. She has changed my mind on a lot of topics, and just have definitely been a part of my growth. So I'm not gonna keep talking about her. I'm gonna let her introduce herself, but this is our guest. Introduce yourself.
Okay. I'm Morgan Lawson, and I can also say that I have had some really great conversations with Damon, and he's challenged me, and I've challenged him, and he's learned a lot from me for sure, but I've learned stuff from him too. So no, I'm so honored to be on here, and thankful that you asked me to join.
Thank you so much for kicking it with us. And then we also have, as always,
Rome.
All right. See, very simple. You know what I mean? Very simple. Morgan is give us some of your credentials, so that way we can have an idea.
Okay. Well, I am a licensed clinical social worker, so for my job, my profession, I do counseling with teenagers right now. I kind of specialize in, obviously, mental health, substance use, and I'm working in human trafficking right now. So
that is awesome. That is mad cool. And I can definitely attest to the fact that she's had a huge effect on a lot of young people, especially the young people that we worked with. So we both have a passion for younger people, and it's been awesome, man, to see you grow and blossom and all that other good stuff. So I'm excited to have you on the podcast, because another reason why we got so close is because she's very, very stern in her opinions, firm, I guess, in her opinions, and so am I. And so there's been many times where I've been in her office, and we have had some verbal boxing matches, and
yes.
I win most of them, but
no.
But before we get into all that, every week on this podcast we do what I realized this week, and that is definitely one of our favorites. So I'm going to start off this week with what I realized, and I want to make sure this is a judge-free zone. Are we judge-free?
Always.
Judge-free.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Rome, are we judge-free?
Always. We're
okay.
good.
Okay. Good. Because this is like really personal. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm letting you guys into a place that I normally don't let people in.
Yes.
So what I realized this week is I am probably a little bit more in touch with my feminine side than I may than I was aware of, and so
I can't wait to hear this story. I'm sorry, I tried.
Yeah, no,
all the
fine.
thoughts of how you found out is
yeah, I'm with you. No, it's fine. So you know how wow, okay, I can't believe I'm actually saying, like, this is gonna live forever. Like, I can't like
it's
erase
safe.
it.
It's
Yeah,
safe.
I know this is safe, but
people don't
yeah, other people who are listening might use this against me later on. So anyways, I'm just gonna be real. I'm married out here in these streets, you know what I'm saying? 2 kids in, expecting another one here pretty soon. So anyways, last week, man, I was enjoying my family. I had cooked dinner for the fam, and it was amazing. I knew that there was going to be a basketball game on that I wanted to catch, and so I made sure that I had dinner prepared for that point. And for those people who don't know, I'm a huge wine person. I love wine. I enjoy wine. Couple that with the fact that this past summer, me and the wife got a bathroom completely remodeled. You know what I mean? And I thought to myself, I said, but I can watch the game on my iPad because my kids had one television, my wife had another television. You know what I'm saying? I had this bottle of wine, you know what I mean, chilled out, you know what I'm saying? It was ready to go, you know what I mean? And so I took the iPad upstairs and, started to, get ready to watch the game. I, cracked open a bottle of wine. And before I knew it, I was in the tub with a bottle of wine and my iPad, you know what I mean, sitting on the side of the tub, and I'm watching this game. And I kind of like, took a snapshot of where I was at, and I realized that like the only time I ever see this is like when women post these pictures of them like in the tub with a glass of wine, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, oh dang, wait.
As long as you didn't take the picture with the bubbles at your feet.
No, I didn't have any bubbles. I didn't have any bubbles.
Oh, that's
I did take the picture though.
That part.
That part is wrong. No, I didn't post it. I didn't post
that
it.
That part right there is.
Oh shit! I took the picture.
That's the part.
It was a lot of thigh action. You know what I'm saying?
That was the part that.
Okay.
Because I take the bubble back. I do my rev run. That's a rev run.
That is. You know what? You were right.
I've been doing it.
Rev run does do that.
The picture is what got you. I do most of my fine thinking in the bathroom. Bubbles.
Okay, good.
I even do the bubbles and everything.
Yeah, I didn't have any bubbles. But I'm not saying I'm against them. I just didn't have. They weren't.
I'm old school.
Readily accessible.
It's like Dawn liquid soap bubbles. It ain't nothing fancy.
See?
It's just bubbles.
Now, I I was watching the NBA. You know what I mean? So that was.
It's the picture. It doesn't. It doesn't. The picture negate anything else.
And then I didn't end with, a tub. I got up, I turned the shower on, I scrubbed.
It's
like
a man.
Wow.
Like a man, I scrubbed.
So tell me why it's not okay to be in the bathtub.
It's because he felt guilty about the picture. I'm telling you, it's not the tub thing. We all took baths as kids.
But
we know it's relaxing. It's like being in a sauna or a whirlpool. It's the picture.
But it sounds like you wanted to remember that moment.
It was wild. Like, it was amazing.
Calmness and peace. Like, that's beautiful.
I'm like, why don't I do this more often?
Yes.
I do it once a month at least. Let me get kid-free, no noise bath every time.
I think the problem is you're labeling it feminine.
Oh, okay.
Why has it got to be feminine?
She is a therapist.
What? No.
To me, it's the picture. I see nothing wrong with the whole thing until he said he took the picture of his feet in the bathroom.
I'll admit.
And the thighs.
Yeah. I'll admit that, you know what I mean, every time I've seen this done, it has been done by women. Until you remind me of Reverend Run. He did do that.
Every episode.
Every episode, at the end of every episode, because that's when he sent out his little
text
tweet or whatever.
Email. His memoir, diary.
Yeah. So it's cool. I mean, I might go home and do it tonight. You know what I'm saying?
You feel better about it because of Reverend now?
I feel a lot better. You know what I mean?
But know what? What are we not doing?
No pictures.
Okay.
So what I realized this week is I'm a little bit more in touch with my feminine side than I thought.
I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Thank you.
I had what I realized. I told somebody what I realized of the week was. I can tell you where I was at, what I was saying. I don't know. What I would say is what I realized is that you got to stay course of your plan. I have had some bigger plans going on in my life with a lot of things. And this week, this Monday, today has been fruition of a lot of things going on. I'll give a little detail, just a little bit, tad bit. I have an ex-wife, and we haven't had the greatest relationship. We have court systems and stuff like that, and we go through a process where we say, hey, we just got to get along for the kids, and it always falls apart. Right now, we're on 3 months of us not bickering, no fighting, and we're still on this form of getting along very well. And so we had a conversation today that I have took brushback from my current wife, my mom, my dad, and me and her my ex-wife had a conversation that all the brushback I had, all the trust I'm putting in her, even though I've been done wrong by her in the past, and I have done wrong to her also in the past, that we got past all that and we made a decision based on our kids and our kids only. No bitterness from our failed relationship. So it was if you stay the course and you push back and don't dwell in the past, then you have a common goal, you could get past everything. So I think that's what I realized. It's one I came up with earlier today, but it's,
Yeah, you told me, but I forget too.
Yeah,
but I think that's a good one though. Keeping the main thing the main thing.
Yeah, don't dwell in the past. Keep the goal, no matter what the brushback is, what the pushback is, and when you have that moment where you like it was all worth it, it's pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mo?
Well, I've been racking my brain all day. I'm kind of in like a season of growth. So a lot of times when I'm in that season of growth and trying to push myself to gain more self-awareness and like work through things, a lot of times I lose patience and want it all to come right away. So I've just been reminded continuously the past several weeks, but a lot this week, that the growth is going to come and kind of stay the course, like Rome was talking. So I think that that's kind of where it is, being patient with myself and being patient with others and letting it play out. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Awesome sauce. Well, we talked last week. We kind of briefly touched on this concept or this particular topic of why are people getting married at a lower rate? Why are fewer people getting married? And I thought, it would be fitting. We have a therapist here, who may be able to chime in on some things, that could possibly be, the reason as to why we're seeing fewer people enter into marriage. I think in American culture, particularly, you go back, you look at movies or TV shows that, talk about the setting is the 40s or the 50s or the 60s. It seemed like, marriage was, a big deal. Even before then, even in the 20s, guys come home from war and, they want to get, or before they leave for war, they go get married. And so, like, marriage, it seemed like, in yesteryear was just like, held to a high standard. And it seems as if it's no longer held to that standard. And I guess, it just begs the question, why? Why is it that marriage is, I guess, devalued a little bit? And I have a selfish reason as to why I want to know. I'm a wedding photographer, videographer, www.damongolden.com for all your wedding media needs. But no, I think it's interesting. I got married 7 years ago in August. It'd be 7 years. I was 22. I enjoyed it. I still enjoy it. I didn't think that I was making the decision prematurely. But I think part of the reason why is because I had wise counsel at the time. Me and my wife did premarital counseling, and so I felt like, it was a solid decision. I've had friends who have been married, then gotten divorced. I've had friends who've never been married, and so I don't know, man. I think that it's a wonder. I wonder why fewer people are getting married.
I think there's tons of reasons, though. I think there's like a cultural shift, like you're talking about. I mean, women are going to school. They're now expected to be working, and I think that there's a lot of pressure to be married, but pressure to have your own job and your career. And so it's like, what do you prioritize? And so if I'm making myself better or getting that education, I mean, maybe also there's this thought that, oh, well, I'm bettering myself, so I deserve somebody that's equal or somebody that is also going that route. And so I think there's tons of reasons. I mean, personally for me, I'm single. I'm 33 years old.
Oh, look at that.
Never been married.
She's single, fellas.
No.
She is single. You heard that, right?
No, single for good for right now. So
for good for right until you make the phone call. Her number is
765. No, kidding. No. So I'm 33 years old, no kids, no marriage. I've been close, but never even engaged. So I think that for me personally, I think there's just a sense of I'm not settling. Like, I'm doing what I need to do, but also doing what I need to do educationally, but also personally. Like, I feel like there's so much that I need to grow in and so much many things that I've brought from my own childhood and from my own life that is just baggage that I've got to work through. And now I've done some great work, and I could be in a marriage now, I think, healthfully. But there's always something else to focus on, I think, personally for me.
I got a question. With you being a therapist, are you like over analytical of somebody?
What do you mean?
Like, do you overanalyze everything they do? Do you use your practice of work in your personal life?
Oh, wow.
Oh, of course. It becomes you.
Is it healthy?
I wouldn't say healthy or not healthy. I don't know. I think that it's a way of being. And so you can't just turn it off. It's hard.
I understand. My mom is a social worker with her master's. And so I always, as growing up, my mom we were part, and she deals with youth. And so I used to get mad at my mom, but like, listen, I ain't one of your kids. Like, and she knew, I knew I was her biological kid, but I wasn't one of her kids she had to use her methods on. So I had to ask, is it part of that? Because my mom and my parents met before my mom they met in college. So she got all this experience before she met him. But as her kid growing up, I had to deal with her being my social worker mom.
Yes. Well, right. And so, like, you try to separate, but when you've studied human behavior and mental health, and I mean, all of this comes out of the paper, and you look at your own life, or you look at your family and friends, and like, you see through this new lens. And so, I mean, if you look at the culture, is there a big push for self-awareness and working through issues? Like, is that normal in everyday culture? I don't know. Yeah. Would you say society does that consistently, or only those in the helping profession, like that's their focus, so that's their everyday mindset? Does that make sense?
No, say it one more time.
Yeah, break it down a little more.
Okay, so if your whole life maybe is kids in school, or your music, or photography. Yeah. So a lot of your lens, your focus is from those. But a lot of your focus is through that lens, right?
Correct, yes.
So my lens is I'm seeing mental health. I'm seeing relationships. I'm seeing unhealthiness, healthiness. And so that's just my lens. And so a lot of times in my interactions, it comes out not on purpose. But unfortunately, that's just who I am
social
now.
Social worker girlfriend.
Yes. I am. No, and you can relate. I don't know what it's like to be on the other side of that. So that's a different dynamic, I'm sure.
I used to have to tell her all the time, I'm not one of your kids. I need my mama, not my social worker.
Yes, I got that.
No, that makes sense, man. I know I work with kids, and I definitely use it sometimes in certain, situations with my wife. I've learned with working with kids, especially troubled young kids, you need to pick your battles wisely. Not every infraction deserves a major reaction. You know what I mean? And so same thing happens at home. You know what I mean? With my wife, if there's a disagreement of some sort, I'm going to analyze the whole thing, and I'm going to ask myself, is it worth it? You know what I mean? To try to win this. I'm just, you know what? It's probably not worth it to try to win this, so I'm not going to.
So go ahead. Well, then my question is, do you have friends that would take that battle every time?
Oh, yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so, right.
Like, dude,
but
what are you doing?
With your experience, with your education and what you're working in, that has influenced how you address it, right?
Very true. Very true.
So, funny story. So, if you know anything about me, I used to be a case manager for a criminal facility here, our county's work release program. So, I was dealing with participants on an everyday basis. They send me through courses, get certifications, effective communication, motivational interviewing, stuff like that. My wife is a probation officer. So, together... So I'm learning as I'm going through these classes. Oh, I can do this. And so then my wife had to tell me, listen, I'm not one of your participants. Like I'll dig a little deeper instead of being confrontational. So you're mad at me. What was really the problem? Was it this or is it like I was trying to get? She was like, listen, that don't work on me. I know what you're doing. I know exactly what you're doing. And so I
it bleeds in, right? It bleeds
you're trying to think about like, hey, what's the best solution to this? But it doesn't work if the other person knows what you're doing.
Yes.
So would you say that would you agree, Morgan, that over the past 30, 40 years that there's been a shift in quote unquote gender roles in American society?
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course.
You I know you kind of alluded to it earlier. You were talking about how women are being more competitive in the workforce and educationally they're going to get theirs and things of that nature.
Right.
So we could say that the shift in gender roles has kind of affected the I guess the arena of marriage a little bit.
I think that's one part of it for sure.
Okay.
Well, and I don't know. So in my own personal opinion,
don't hold back.
I know.
Just don't.
So it's been a man's world. Like it truly has for years. It's all about the man, right? So just in the past 30 years, women are starting to have their own voices. They're starting to be productive members of society. They're starting to be important. They're held up, as somebody that knows something. So,
women doesn't need men anymore is what you're saying?
I wouldn't go that far. I don't think that that's true.
That's offensive, Jerome. You can't.
I asked the question.
Why do women need men?
Well,
Go ahead. We ask. It's a question.
Right. So I don't think women need men, but I think that...
Do men need women?
I don't think so. I think that we need each other. Like, it's not a either
the need
or.
Is different.
Yeah, I think that there's some things men can do, there's some things women can do, and that's okay.
I don't think you can't call it different, Jerome, because then that implies that there are gender roles.
Listen,
are there gender roles?
There were.
Are there? Are they current? Like, do
as
we
a society, is gender roles in my household?
Yes.
There is no gender roles in my household. They're not. So I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna give you this example. I'm gonna go deep. I'm gonna go into Damon realm. So
all right.
I come from a 2-parent household. So in my household, I sing gender roles. My parents are very old school. My dad took care of the house, all the mortgages, car notes, anything my mom want. Well, they had a deal. He took care of all the bills, all the mortgages. My mom took care of me and my sister. So all I knew as growing up was that my mom took care of us. I can tell you the one Christmas my dad bought me something. I can tell you everything to the T still to this day because he took me shopping for that because it never happened. So that's how big gender roles were in my household. Now my wife, she comes from a single parent household. So her mom was everything. So it wasn't any gender roles for her to come up with. They did everything. But in her mind, there were still gender roles. So I, as the new adult me, been married once, I came in with my own baggage. So my wife used to be mad because I wouldn't take out the trash when it was full. I take out the trash when I feel like taking out the trash. And so we used to have this little dilemma. I don't do laundry in my house. For whatever reason, I don't like laundry. But I clean the bathrooms.
Like you like clothes, though. You like clothes. But you don't like laundry.
We made a deal. Hey, I clean the kitchen. I clean the bathroom. You handle laundry. We kind of gang up on all living areas.
Yeah. That
was our deal. Mm-hmm. But in her idea, the kitchen came with trash. I'm like, yeah, I'll take it out when I feel like taking it out. And so, honestly, my wife probably takes out more trash in my house than I do, which is typically in the gender role world is a man's job.
Yeah.
If she want me to take it out, don't feel like taking it out, I'll come home from work or wherever I'm at, and it's sitting in front of the front door. That's like, because she might not make it all the way out to the trash can. Because she's like, he's don't take it out today. So I don't have gender roles in my house. Who cooks?
No. Who signs the executive orders?
It's a team.
Is it?
It's a team.
Or is there the illusion that there's a team?
Oh, it's a team.
What do you mean executive orders?
Like, who has the final say?
And
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it's like today. Wife calls. She said, "Hey, we're going to Tampa." I'm like, "Okay." And so she said her coworker was in the room when she said, "He's gonna be mad about going to Tampa." She was like, "No. If he don't want to go, he stay at home and he's okay with that." So if I was included, she goes by herself. She can have that free time. But we pay bills. We pay bills. Boom. What bills get paid? We pay them. It's no. So anything major. So we want to move. We want to have a house. Hey, you want to move? She says her reasoning. I say my reasoning. And then we probably compromise if it's a disagreement. So it's no, if we disagree, ain't no executive decision. It's a compromise.
Would you consider yourself? Is there a leader of the household?
If I had the answer, I'd say no.
Okay.
We're a collective team. We're a unit. We're a business. I'm CEO, she's CFO, and everything else. We fall in line where it needs to go.
There's a ranking there, isn't there?
No.
I don't know if CFO. I don't know which one is.
Because if the
There's
CEO,
a hierarchy, right?
well,
CEO.
if the CEO and CFO, they hand in hand, they operate together. Because the CEO can't
It's like
make no
vice
decision.
president.
CFO, you don't have no money, you can't move nothing.
Who hired him though? CEO, right?
The board.
Oh.
Like that.
Oh, okay, so let me ask you this, Morgan. Would you say that in a heterosexual situation, well, because I know that not every listener may be in a heterosexual relationship, but in a heterosexual situation where a woman is attracted to men and men only, do you think that kind of a woman is attracted to or desires leadership from a male? Like, and leadership not as in like I'm going to tell you what to do, but leadership is in like the security aspect and like just being sure and like taking charge. You know what I'm saying? Is that still? Cause I read books and I've heard that is a quality that women look for when it comes to them looking for.
Do they look for it and want it? Because they look for it, but then sometimes they don't want it.
I don't know. I mean, I can only tell you in my opinion and my
That's what
personal experience.
That's what we
Yeah.
were looking for. We was baiting
Yeah.
you. It was a bait.
Yeah, it was a bait, wasn't it? Oh, I am not surprised. So yeah, I think especially with women that are working right now and like, running their own lives, I think it would be, for me personally, it would be nice to be able to depend on someone and not have to run and control everything, because that's what I've been doing. So like to have that security in somebody, to have that trust where it's a partnership, not a this is what we're going to do. But I've got strong opinions. I've got a strong.
I
don't
have
want it, but don't want it.
Yeah, I
told you.
I got this issue with this whole partnership because if we go out, we at the bar and we enjoying ourselves, and somebody, call you a bitch, call you out your name, there ain't no partnership in whooping ass. You know what I'm saying?
I don't need you to though.
What I'm saying is, if you're in a threatening situation,
if you
the
feel
expectation is, if you're with a man, the expectation is what?
To defend your honor.
There's no partnership in that.
If she jump in and throw with you,
yeah, but I'm just saying, no one is.
But I wouldn't want my man to jump in though.
You wouldn't want him to
defend your honor?
No, because I don't need anyone to defend my honor.
Okay, all right.
I don't.
I'm with you.
I'm like, let's just go, or let's ignore this. Like, I'm not gonna get into that kind of drama. You know what I mean?
I think that sometimes.
Okay, I got one for you. Got one. Chivalry. Chivalry is a gender role. You want your guy to open doors for you. You want him to have you walk on the inside of the street.
Okay.
I'm asking, do you want that? Why is that acceptable?
If you're going out with Joe, whomever,
why is that a quality point?
And he's like, not being
chivalrous.
Mm-hmm.
Do you notice that?
Yeah, I think so.
Is that a knock a little bit? Like, is that points against?
Yes. Maybe it is points against, but we're going against a culture that tells us what a man should be. We're
Right.
going against a culture that's telling us what a woman should be. And so a lot of those things that I do hold up here are because culture has told me that's what's expected.
And it's not because you truly believe it, you think?
I don't know.
You just believe what you were told.
Yeah.
Is it a core belief at this point? There you go.
A core belief, I think you could say that because it's so ingrained.
Yeah.
I think so.
But you may not necessarily truly believe. Like, if you sat back
If it's a
and
core
really
belief, you truly believe it. That's why I asked that certain phrase.
Oh, okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
A core belief means it's what you hold is bigger than a value.
Ah, okay. Huh.
That's some of them classes I took.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
For
Thank you for enlightening me. So if that's the case, then there has to be gender roles. You know what I mean? If and we're not trying to make it seem like Morgan speaks for every woman or
No,
that
please.
I speak
No,
for
no,
every
no.
man. I'm just saying that I know that there are certain expectations that are placed on men and on women. And
Yeah.
so I had a young lady, and I shared this last week on the podcast, one of my students, she said, Mr. Golden, do you believe that it's a man's world? I said, no, I don't believe that. And the reason why I don't believe that is because, you look throughout history, nothing moves without the touch of a woman. You know what I mean? In every single aspect of life. You go back to the Bible. I mean, every area in life, you know what I mean? Nothing moves without the hand of a woman. So I don't agree with that. Do I agree that, men are in powerful positions? Yes. But I also feel like sometimes women give the illusion that men are in power. You know what I mean? Sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think that you're doing something and you're really only doing it because she's letting you do it. You know what I mean? Like, so really the woman has the power, but she's going to allow you to have that, that piece. But I just wonder if there's something naturally within a woman, and something that's naturally within a man that is different. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if our minds, if our desires and things of that nature, are naturally different. And if they are, then that means that we have different purposes. Mm-hmm. Therefore, we have I can't nurse my kids. Mm-hmm. I can't. You know what I'm saying? I got man boobs for sure, but I can't physically nurse my kids. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and I think we've had this conversation before.
Possibly.
Yeah, I think that we're all men are born with certain qualities, women are born with certain qualities. I think they're enforced by culture and things, but I think that there is a difference in men and women, obviously.
Okay.
So are gender roles changing is what the question really is.
I think it's becoming a little bit more blurred.
Yeah.
You were just talking about how, you and your wife kind of split up everything. It's kind of, there's not a definitive
line.
Like, you go back, 70s, 60s, that's your dad's chair. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or you know what I mean?
I got a king's chair.
Yes.
I got a king's chair.
When you come home, the expectation was for, his plate to be put aside, or he get the biggest piece of chicken. You know what I mean? So, I believe that over time, those, rules and things of that nature have changed. But I'm just not of the school that men and women are the same. And I believe that there is a group of individuals who push that. And I'm to me, that's very dangerous because I think that we are made different. I say this all the time, and I'm glad that we have Morgan here to kind of tell me about this. And I would love to hear your opinion too, because I've never said this to you. I believe women are the smartest creatures on earth, hands down.
Of course.
I will always say that. We'll always say that, except when it comes to relationships.
Correct.
And the reason why I say that is because in every other situation, women are very, very logical. But for the most part, when it comes to relationships,
They're very
emotional. They lead with emotion. In every other situation, my
very analytical.
They
break it
They
down
think
to
of stuff that I don't even think about. Like, I can't tell you how amazed I always knew my mom was amazing. I knew my mom was smart. But when I was in the process of moving into my freshman dorm, the things that she thought of that I would need that I never even considered. She had me put a list together. Had like 12 items on the list. You know what I'm saying?
Does you had 115.
I'm like, yo, I'm gonna need that. Like, that was smart. You know what I mean? But I know that I've seen the movie over and over again. When it comes to relationships, it seems like, I mean, we all have seen that situation where the beautiful girl, whether it be in high school or wherever, is with like a horrible person. Like, and I always ask myself, like, why is that? And it wasn't until later that I realized, like, yo, it's because she's not thinking logically. Like, she's leading with emotion. Would you say that is common? I mean, just generally speaking, there are women out there who, are, tough and hard and,
Which can be on the opposite end of that, which can be non-emotional, non-vulnerable, and so it also causes issues in a relationship.
Yeah, no.
Right.
Very true.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think there's so many factors that go into it.
Were some of your, I guess, most questionable decisions, were they centered around relationships?
My most questionable decisions?
Just some of them. I mean, not all of them. When you're thinking back over your life, like, yo, like, man, I was in.
Yeah, but it came from a place of, not to get deep, but like brokenness and hurts and pains and what I carried on into. And I think that we look at the marriage rate. I mean, we're having 50% of our kids are in two-person homes. Yeah. We're having 1 in 4 girls sexually abused before they're 17 years old. I mean, there's all kinds of things that there's no reason why they wouldn't be emotional going into these relationships and men have experienced some of the same things.
Yeah, I think men are emotional too. It's just
our gender role is not to show it.
Yep. I seen somebody post on Facebook the other day, like, when did it become okay for men to cry, or is it okay for men to cry now? I'm like, what? Like, yo, like, it should have never been like a.
It shouldn't have.
A piece in time where it wasn't okay for a man to cry.
Why isn't it okay for men to cry? Like, where is that even came from?
It comes from society.
It came from when gender roles actually existed. When men had to be tough, had to be exterior, had to be the wall, had to show no toughness. They had to be the security in the house. Yeah. When a guy was what we call now, like, you just had it, where you was like, I had a feminine moment because I took a bath.
Yes.
When a guy was seen as feminine, he was weak, which mean, and gender roles back then showed the women wanted tough men, burly men, people to protect them. So if you cried and showed feminine qualities, you weren't the men to be appeased by women.
Isn't it like so I'm just trying to get deeper as to why those gender roles even existed in the first place. Is it safe to say that there's like a piece of nature, like an animalistic like aspect to it, like that? Because you look at lions. I don't know a lot about them, but I do know women do a lot of the hunting, right? But nobody ever challenges the male lion, like,
because they're the defense. They are.
My point. Right. There's a security piece there. There's a tough guy piece there. You know what I mean? So I'm wondering is it bad that that Leo the lion doesn't get super emotional all the time? Like, I'm just
good old Leo,
the cowardly lion,
right? Yeah, you don't want to be like the super emotional, like,
no, got to be definitive. When it's always been when you show emotional, you were indecisive.
Yeah,
and so men are executioners. They execute.
Even if it's wrong.
To this day, guys are fixers. Yeah. Their woman, their girl, somebody they adore, tell them a problem. A guy goes into fix it mode. Hey, what you need me to do? How I'm going to fix it? And which is a guy flaw.
And sometimes they don't want it to be fixed. They just
It's
Very
what you
true.
to hear.
Exactly. Just hear me. I don't need you to fix me.
No,
I am an independent woman that can fix myself.
Okay, you just want to be heard.
Yes, just hear me.
All right, now I feel
No,
you.
but I mean,
And guys are, if you don't want me to fix it, don't tell me.
right. So maybe
I think that's an innate. That's an innate thing. Guys are. Nobody taught me how to be a fixer.
was that culture or was that who you are?
That's.
I don't know, man. I think the movies we see, I think the characters that we, like to portray. You're telling me that media had no effect on
Me being a fixer? No. It's in my character. And I will give you this. My dad probably had a big part of this. I told you a story how my mom took care of us. Like, she took care of me. But anytime I had a problem or needed something, my dad was the first person I called. Mm-hmm. To this day, I call my dad if I have an issue or a problem. Mm-hmm. Hey, Daddy, what's going on? Hey, my tire busted. I'm on my way to work. Can you just bring me a jack? Like, he is the guy I call. To this day, my mom calls him. He calls me. I go fix it for my mom. So it's. I think if anything, I got it from him, and he got it from my grandfather. Because when my grandfather was living, I call him too. Hey, Papa, that's what I call him. Hey, I got this problem. How I fix it? Or I knew the
hierarchy.
The hierarchy in my life.
Yeah.
And so I think if anything, it might have been cultural. So now that we say it out loud.
And generational, right? Just passed on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how most of our everything happens.
Because I tell people
generational.
my grandfather was a guy's guy.
A man's
man. Yeah, he was that guy. Like, my grandfather, he graduated high school, and I was there. Like, he got his GED. Like, I think I was in high school. And so I remember, I just told my wife this story, that I was at a zoo. I was probably in middle school. Hey, Grandpa, what high school you went to? He said, I went to the school of hard knocks. Like, my grandpa was that type of guy. Worked in the mill, was a carpenter. Like, he told me I quit school to go to war. Like, what kind of story is that? Like, his tombstone literally says a year he wasn't born because he lied to go to the service.
Wow.
And so that and then my dad, he's still that type of same way. I probably seen my dad get emotional 3 times in my life, like tears emotional. Wow. 3, and they were pretty like legit reasons. Like,
we shouldn't say that's kind of wrong. That's perpetuating.
No,
the
they
problem.
were legit reasons why anybody in their natural mind would cry.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. Like one, he didn't let me see. I just seen it. Like, I wasn't supposed to see it. Like, one was my grandmother passing away. One was I had a sister who passed away, and then I think one was like my sister graduating from college.
Yeah.
And you have children, right?
Yeah.
Have they seen you cry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very emotional. I'm not don't shake that or deny it. I cry at movies. I'm tough when I need to be tough, and I'm emotional when I'm. But that came from my mom being a social worker and telling me it's okay to cry.
Okay. Okay, I got you.
Like so I.
But there's a lot of boys who don't get that message that it is okay to cry, and so they keep it all bottled up, and then next thing you know, we got school shootings. We have, you know what I'm saying, lives taken a lot earlier than what they should have been. You know what I mean? And so, this gender role thing could be a little bit more detrimental than I ever.
Well, and
imagined.
tears are pain, right? So if we're crying, there's probably pain involved, right?
Yeah.
So pain is hidden by anger, and so that's what we're seeing. What you just described with the boys is there's so much anger, but it's covering up the pain that they're not allowed to express.
Yeah. Someone asked me and said, how many of these school shootings have been started by or led by females? And I was like, yo,
I haven't thought about that.
There's something to that. There's something to that, and there's a whole nother. I guess we can segue into it a little bit. But we've seen, if I'm not mistaken, we've seen two shootings, mass shootings in churches. I think that one happened in like No one definitely happened in the Carolinas. Dylan Roof, a guy.
Yep.
And I think there was another one that happened like in Texas or Missouri or somewhere. But anyway, so we've seen him in the church, and of course we've seen him in schools. I don't think it's possible to name a more judgmental place than school or church in society.
Yeah.
There's not a place where judgment and like pressure and like, you gotta live this way at church, you gotta make these grades at school. Like, you can't think of a place in American society that's full of more pressure, more judgment
from the masses, with a mass group of people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And even when you're outside of those buildings, their effects still linger. You know what I mean? Even so. So I wonder why we haven't really had the conversation on, you know what I'm saying, like
reform of those two institutes.
And the crazy thing is, one begot the other. So school was a byproduct of church. Like, churches the churches are what started the whole educational, which is why they're both set up the exact same. Everybody facing one direction, looking at one person. You know what I mean? But these are the two most judgmental zones, and then on top of that, they are or as a result, I believe they are the ones that are targeted. You know what I mean? Most frequently.
I think that's a good revelation.
I think next is going to be Planet Fitness.
That's a no judgment zone. I don't know what you're talking about.
I would just go eat my cake. You're
Right,
like, I don't
right.
care
No,
what y'all
listen,
think of
man,
me.
forget y'all. But
so
no,
I hear you saying though, with education and church, like what is it about those two things that?
It's very judgy. They're very judgy atmospheres. I feel like the goalpost is always being moved as far as, you know what I mean, achievement in those two arenas. I would say for a fact, without a doubt, that those are the two arenas that have failed to evolve with time.
Yeah.
And my proof of that is, if you took a picture from 100 years ago of a classroom, just, go back 100 years ago, 19, 18, whatever, you take a picture from the back of that classroom and compared it to a picture that you would take in 2018 from the back of the classroom, the clarity would change, the fashion would change, but the structure would be the exact same. Same thing is true with church. Pews are still sitting in the same place that they've been for the last 100 years. One area you can't say that about is the banking industry, right? Just a small example. If you would have told a banker 30 years ago, hey, Morgan's going to be able to start an account without ever stepping foot in your bank, even just 30 years ago, if you would have told a banker that, they would be like, you're crazy.
You said
Right.
15.
Yeah, you're right. You know what I mean? I can literally say all of 2017, I may have stepped foot in a bank maybe 3 times, and I probably deposited 30, 40 checks mobily. Yeah, I mean, of course, my check for my job is automatic, but with my business, I mean, I do everything mobily. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, there's been an evolution in other industries, and there hasn't been an evolution in church or school. And those are the two entities in American society that are failing miserably. It is a known fact that the church is in hospice, and it's a known fact that the educational system sucks. Look who's at the head. Oh, no, I'm not gonna
Yeah, let's not.
But anyways,
So,
that's what I would attribute that to. I would attribute it to the fact that it's a judgmental arena, and there has been no evolution.
Right. I would agree with you. And I guess the question is, how do we evolve? Like, what are the pieces that need to be changed?
Might just need to be done away with.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
so the church and schools need to be done away with?
maybe. I mean, just give it a shot.
How schools are arranged need to be done with. They need to stop more general ed stuff, and then put. I mean, this sounds like what's that movie? It's a big movie. Divergent and stuff.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
class system. Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Put people in specific.
like where you fit
Bro,
in.
listen, you're gonna be a plumber, or electrician.
You got to go over here. Yeah. You didn't score high on this test.
I know you want to sing, but you can't. So
Yeah,
don't even put no effort towards working towards it. Like, yo, hey, you gonna build apps. That's it. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's
you
it.
can't get out of it. But I think everybody knows like the education needs reformed. I don't think it works currently in its current state. How to fix it, I don't have that solution. If I did, I'd be a billionaire.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
I think you're on to something though. Like, well, I know one thing that needs to happen. We need to stop telling people to go to college. If kids, college is great. It's amazing. But college is not for everybody at the same time.
Correct. Yep.
You know what I mean? I can honestly say when I left, I was not ready for college. I was not mature enough for college. And I know a lot of peers my age would say the exact same thing. It wasn't until I got married that's when I became a good student, because it was coming out of my pocket. You know what I'm saying? And I understood that I didn't have time to waste because I have responsibilities. You know what I mean?
That was one of what I realized. I'm a better student now than I was. So over the weekend, my daughter had a project. I helped her with her project.
Did you just admit to doing your daughter's project?
I did helped her with as a kid. I wouldn't even tell my parents I had a project. I would not do a project. Wouldn't sit down. Like, I did not do homework, and anything that was outside the schoolhouse didn't get done by me. And so I literally hounded my daughter about the same thing my parents did to me. And sat down, took out the time, took an hour project. I might upload these pictures of this project on Facebook on the Culturally Correct. It was a whole diorama of a safari, like shoebox, animals, giraffes.
Oh, you went ham, huh?
Man,
That's cool.
Construction paper, glue sticks, the whole nine for my first grade diorama.
Oh wow!
But as a first grader, I wouldn't have did it.
Right.
Now, how much of that though is attributed to like your desire for your daughter to
do well,
get a good grade? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a lot of that. But where was that motivation for me? It's self-preservation. And my daughter, she was excited to do it. She had more excitement than I probably ever had about anything in school. Like, she hounded me about it. I said, hey, I still got to go get a couple pieces. Can we wait? I got to do it. I have to do it. Like, she was
So you said she enjoyed it, but do you feel like there's like a more of a pressure though on kids younger and younger now though? Like, cause it sounds like you didn't do much in school and you made it out okay. Is there more pressure?
I'm a genius though.
But are you seeing that in just your daughter's, like, I don't know. I don't have children, so I don't know. But is there a pressure for kids to be doing more, learning more?
They're learning more earlier than I learned stuff. Like my first grader is doing multiplication tables. I remember learning that in third grade. I know for a fact it was third grade learning multiplication.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that they're pushing things so much earlier, and the brain is not a place where it's ready to tackle all these things.
I think kids are ready. They're smarter than us.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're smart. They're definitely smarter than what we were at that age. My son, who is 2, about to be 3, knows without, I've never sat down and showed him how to do this. He's seen me do it multiple times. He will be able. He can take the iPad and get to Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my son! Yeah. You give him a phone. He's 18 months. Go to YouTube Kids, without a doubt.
Right, and that's modeling, right? So you guys are modeling things, like they're seeing you do things. But I'm talking about multiplication and using all these brain parts that it feels early.
I think our mind is beyond what we give it credit.
Yeah, it's more. It's capable than
more
than
what we
do.
More than what I believe that too, but are we pushing that too soon?
You got to learn it because this is what I'm gonna give you. So what's the Prince and his kid? Prince Harry and one of those has a daughter who learns 2 languages and she's 4, and they're impressed with it. And then I seen a meme saying, immigrant kids learn 2 languages and nobody bats an eye. Nobody cares. Mm-hmm. they say you learn more. Your developmental stages are early,
Right.
1 to 6 or something.
Yeah.
You can push more knowledge to that
Yes.
age group. So if you push it earlier, it's in the realm of learning it.
You can definitely learn things much faster in those age. My point is, are we overloading our kids though? Are we putting way too much on them at that age?
I don't know. I don't think so. I want to say I don't think so. And the reason why I say it is because it almost seems like, on one hand, yeah, they're learning things a little bit earlier, like you were just saying. But then also too, like, they don't teach cursive no more.
0.
What's the point in cursive?
You
Like,
got something
why,
in your name.
why does it matter?
I'm saying that as a kid, I learned what's the opposite of cursive? Standard?
Print.
Print. I learned print, and I learned cursive, and they don't teach that anymore.
How often you use cursive?
Every
I
day.
mix it.
What?
I do both.
Every day. I sign my name
I
every
sign
day.
my name in print. I don't even do cursive.
Yeah.
I sign it every
You're
day.
weird.
Can't read it.
You're
But
weird.
it's not possible. Evolution. We're evolving. It's not needed.
You got a little offensive on that one.
No. What? Offensive or defensive?
I think that in education, like I said, I don't have the fix either, but maybe we should start teaching different things, or like structure. The structure should be different. Like, I don't see the issue with, a kid deciding, okay, well, this year I want to try out, or this semester I want to try out a particular field.
Right.
And why not shadow,
Right.
somebody for the majority of the school day, or for, let's say, Monday through Wednesday, you're not on campus, and then Thursday and Friday you are,
Right.
Like,
I got a little solution. Like, it just came up from us talking about. So we talked about how we're pushing education further, like kids are learning stuff quicker. So take the format we currently have and shrink it. So 1 through 6 is our current should be our current elementary school setup. And then 6 through 7 be age 6 through whatever could be our, like, high school setup. Like, because I always focus on high school teaches you it gives you a wide range of stuff to try to focus in on what you like and what you might want to do. So if you focus in on the kids earlier on what they may want to do, mind you, we know we all grow and find ourselves differently.
Yeah.
Then college and things after that, they can focus in on exactly what they want to do, because I'm against college with all the prerequisites and all the you gotta take history and you want to be a math teacher. I don't get that. And so you can eliminate that part of college if you start all this stuff a little earlier.
I see what you're saying, and I think that for years we thought the brain only evolved and stuff from age 1 to 3, and then it stopped. Like the brain reached its maximum potential. Well, we're finding that neuroplasticity means that our brain is changing forever. So just 30 years ago, we didn't know that our brain continually changed through adulthood, right? So in adolescence, there's a time of our brain changing tons. So I think that there's many periods that we're learning a lot. So I push for, like, my niece. She's she's 3 right now. I told her, Mom, don't put her in kindergarten until 6 years old, because we're seeing this influx of ADHD, depression, anxiety in all of our kids. What kind of pressure are we putting on our kids that's all evolving? Do you have an opinion?
I think ADHD is made up.
Okay.
Well, I honestly think it's a diagnosis that everybody has a bit of ADHD. So you can't say one kid has more of it, and this is the only reason. I'm hold to that. The reason I disagree with ADHD for the majority of the part is the method of treating it.
Okay.
So if you give me a medicine that you give to somebody diagnosed with ADHD, and then you give it to a person that's not diagnosed, and it does the same exact thing to both people, one person deserves it. That's quote air quotes for the people who can't see, and one person that doesn't, but it does the same exact thing to both people. Something got to give. So either that person that has ADHD doesn't have ADHD, or you shouldn't prescribe that medicine that doesn't work on what you're saying it works on.
So
it shouldn't be that way, though. It should be for those that don't have it. It should work the opposite and not help them.
Or like I
let
said,
me tie
so
it back
one of them
in.
don't exist. Like,
Let me tie it back into what we were talking about earlier, because I think that ADHD specifically, and I think there's ADHD and there's hyperactive something.
It's ADHD, ADD. They're
ADD.
basically the same. They're
Okay.
the same thing.
I've worked with kids for a long time. Morgan, you've worked with kids for a long time. And I would be interested in hearing your mom's perspective.
I worked with kids. I was a tutor for
Okay,
a long time.
I can honestly say maybe one or two of all the kids I work with that have been diagnosed with ADHD. I think I'm stretching when I say two. Maybe one or two of them have been girls. I believe that it's overly diagnosed in young boys, specifically
Black boys,
minorities.
right?
And I think I read an article that talked about how the majority of the people who do the diagnosing are white women. So there are two cultural, walls there. The first wall is it's women, you know what I mean? And the reason why I say that is because if you watch the young boy, you know what I mean, interact with other young boys, your perspective on that interaction will be completely different than a man's. What you consider rough, a man might consider he's
boys
just being a
boy.
Right. You know what I mean? So, boom, that's that. That's not being aggressive. Like, a woman's definition of aggressive, just in general, I'm not saying all women, okay? But just in general, a woman's definition of aggression is completely out of the realm of what a man's definition of aggression is. So you have these women diagnosing these boys, right? Then on top of that, there's the cultural piece, where you have a kid who might be loud and very expressive, you know what I mean? And a white woman might look at that and, you know what I mean, she's never experienced it before. Like, and so now she's saying that, little Antoine got a problem. And really it's like, no, this is just.
Or experience a lot times and say, oh, that was the diagnosis for. Yeah,
that was the diagnosis for, the other kid. And so, I don't know, in your experiences, do you guys see it more, am I right in saying that, you see it more diagnosed on boys than you do with young ladies?
Females, they're not. They're more of the not being able to concentrate and not being able to pay attention and organize things. So in boys, their symptoms are more hyperactive. So the females, partly gender roles, I think, we're not. That's not something that girls are expected to do, is be that hyperactive and that rough and tumble.
Yeah.
You right? So I think that, yes, it's diagnosed more in boys, but
I think they just call it being a tomboy if you're a girl. And don't give you, she's just a tomboy.
Hey, that's possible. But I think that we, as a mental health profession, I think that we are evolving into looking at trauma and how that can affect ADHD, because personally, in my opinion,
we got to do a whole nother episode.
Listen, ADHD is often misdiagnosed and it should be trauma. So if we look at a lot of our families, they are dealing with trauma, right? There's trauma all over.
Oh yeah. Fact.
And so a lot of that is not being able to concentrate, of being irritable. There's a lot of mix in symptoms, I think.
We definitely got to have you back, because that word has been thrown around so much.
I appreciate that. That make me feel like I was on the right realm. For it being misdiagnosed and what I was saying and what I was thinking.
Oh, I agree with you.
It made me feel better.
But let me tell you, mental health, though, we are looking more at trauma and not just. Now, are there legit symptoms of ADHD? I believe that. I truly do believe that. Now, to wrap this back around, the media, YouTube and iPads, and putting our kids in school at 5 and expecting them to take all of this in and process it, I think is contributing to that concentration and that being able to focus and get things done. So I think that it all kind of works together. And if you have someone diagnosed with ADHD and they're going home to chaos and poverty and trauma, we're putting all of this on our kids and saying, okay, now go to school and learn all of this stuff. and focus and concentrate when they're wanting to just be boys, right?
They
And
just
play
want to
around.
be kids when they're at home.
Yeah.
No, I see that.
No, I mean, I think that's great. I don't think we solved all the world's problems today.
I don't think we did.
I think that we got kind of close, though. You know what I mean? We almost got there. I think we definitely
I think we
made
hit
some,
like 18 things.
We did.
So.
We had a lot of different things. Listen, I want to thank you so much for joining us, Morgan. It is definitely an honor, and I'm gonna tell you right now, you're definitely gonna be back because that T word, I just have an issue with it. I do believe that trauma exists. I just don't know if it exists to the extent. I'm kind of like with the overdiagnosing of ADHD, like because like what people would say what I went through was trauma, and I just don't know if
I like trauma better than because you could talk out trauma.
Yep.
You're not medicating trauma.
Yep. And you're not stuck to that trauma. It can be worked through.
I got whoopings a lot when I was a kid.
That's not a trauma.
I'm
not
not
a
saying.
We
Not
not
a
All
trauma.
right.
Oh,
All
no,
right.
I gotta
I'm
tell you
coming
this.
back. I'm coming back.
No, I gotta tell you this story. This story, I mentioned it like a couple episodes ago, maybe every episode. So my dad literally gave me the story. So my dad watches my kids a lot. By his choice, I'm not one of those parents that pawn off my kids. Damon witnessed it today. My dad called me and was like, "Why I didn't see the grandbabies this weekend?" So I got whoopings. My dad was in a fraternity. He has a frat board. It's probably
Morgan is going to report your father.
we are grown.
Morgan is going to
I think it's
report
past
your
what I can
dad.
report. I think we're good.
So
Statute of limitations.
Yeah. Something.
So the story. So I got whoopings with this. Literally, what I have whoopings. If my mama didn't report it, wasn't that bad.
That's true. Yeah.
I could tell you some stories. One was bad. So I got whoopings with this. And I wasn't the best kid ever, but I wasn't the worst.
Yeah.
I remember my dad. I get in trouble. My dad taking me to a detention center. Like, got kicked out of school. He like, I ain't missing work. They let me bring it. And like, I'm still being a kid because I'm not locked down. And I'm just there. And I'm like, I don't know, this ain't for me. But that deterred me a lot because I got to see what I didn't want. But got whoopings. So my dad broke it out for my kids the other day. I haven't seen it in years. Couldn't tell you where it was at. So he said, he broke it out, told my son, Jack, you want some of this? Jack said, oh, you want to fight? We playing swords? He was like, forget it. So my daughter said something was being like, my oldest daughter is 8, was being like motherly. She's very motherly. And so she's bossy, basically, in other words. To the other kid, he said, listen, if you don't stop, I'm going to give you something. She said, she kept doing it. He said, so he broke it out. He said, touch your toes. She was like, what you doing with that with my toes? He just put it down. It was fine. I can't even threaten your kids. They don't even know what it is. Like,
Yeah,
That's
man.
great.
I will say I got a lot of whoopings when I was a kid, and I know that what I went through would definitely be diagnosed or labeled as trauma. I don't know, man. I've seen too many people come out of those situations and not be. And I'm not. I do understand it exists. It's real. You know, we'll talk about this on another episode. I'm not discrediting those who have been through trauma. I don't want it to be a situation where it gets diluted, where everything that we
do is,
you know what I mean? Like, I want to reserve it for the real serious cases because I got whoopings, I got discipline. You know what I mean? When I did wrong, but nobody like came home. And, you know what I'm saying, I'm just sitting there reading a book and somebody just knocked me upside my head out of, you know what I mean? To me, that's like for real, like, you know what I'm saying? But if I stole a water gun from the store, you know what I mean? And I got a whoop, like a for real whooping. I don't know if I would necessarily classify that as
trauma.
But that's a whole nother conversation for another day.
Yes, it
Morgan,
is.
thank you so much for coming
welcome.
out and talking with us. We definitely appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, and like I said, you will be back for sure. We got an event coming up.
Yep, event April 27th. It's at Love Event. I don't have the address in front of me. I apologize for that. But you can look at the flyer on our Facebook page, Instagram page, everywhere we are at. We shout it out every week. Get to us for tickets. We got about half the tickets gone, so make sure you get them before.
Morgan, you buying yours, right?
I guess I am.
I got them in my pocket right now. and we take PayPal.
Morgan's going to pull out the little black dress?
But I don't know about all that.
Yeah, no, we cleared it up. Morgan thought it was just for black people.
Stop.
But it's not. It's not.
It said all black.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
Yeah. No. You're welcome, Morgan.
Thank
gotta
you.
pull out the
Oh
little
The
my
guy
black
in the
dress.
picture is white. Like,
I didn't even see
Fact
the
though.
picture.
And listen, when you're talking about marriage, you might meet him.
Oh, yes, I might. I'm in.
You might meet him.
I need to be at any event where I could meet a man, please.
Yeah. He might be black though.
So-
Awkward silence.
Yeah, you should.
You always got to go there. Always.
Hey, so listen, man. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share this. I feel like your mom should be listening to this podcast right now. This is culturally correct. Thank you.